My name is Greg Green, and I'm principal at Clintondale High School and also co-founder of Flip Schools. And what I'd like to do is take you through the Flip Classroom and School approach as an administrator may see it. I've been an administrator for 10 years and have the privilege of uh, posting several articles on CNN about the flipped classroom. In the flipped classroom, just simply is students reviewing classroom information before class and then students doing activities and homework in class. Um, that's not how we're traditionally built, though, and that's why the flipped classroom is getting so much attention. Traditionally, in our classrooms, as you know, uh, classroom information is reviewed in class, and then students process the information as homework outside of class. Um, but we find that is somewhat frustrating because what we found is in my 10 years as being principal and interviewing students as they exit our high school is that oftentimes students are asked to practice in environments that don't often support that homework process. And what we're learning more and more and more is that some families can provide that, but some families can't. And that's where the disconnect is. And oftentimes it has to do with the neighborhood you live in or the community you live in. Not always, though. Sometimes homes that live in affluent communities or sometimes don't have a safe environment or sometimes don't have technology for whatever reason. Sometimes they don't have parents who support them or communities that support them in general or also an expert at their disposal. So, doing homework becomes a difficult task when you can't ask questions or you don't have a schedule that supports homework or you don't have a safe learning environment. It's very difficult to do. In our flipped classrooms, students simply review information outside of class. They're not asked to process it. They're asked to just simply review it, and then they do all their practice in class with their teacher and their classmates. And I get a lot of questions about how they share information, and they share information a number of ways. It doesn't always have to be video. Video gets a lot of attention, in our story, but it doesn't have to always be video. It can be an audio file. It can be a PowerPoint notes. It can be reading assignment. It can be notes that you give kids. But it's just any type of information that you choose to share with your students, in whatever format you choose to share them with. So by flipping it, by our students just spend time doing their homework directly in class enables them to learn in a safe atmosphere, and they have access to necessary technology, graphing calculators, computers, anything you can imagine that a school can offer, they have access to. And now they have someone who, like a teacher, who's like a parent, who encourages and supports them in the learning process. They also have a community of supporters. When you think of schools, you think of administrators, you think of school psychologists, special education services, counselors. So students have people to go to when they're struggling in the learning process, maybe outside of the academic areas. And they also have more experts available to them than ever before. They have multiple teachers they can ask for help. They have vocational experts that are available to them. They have counselors that help them get into college. And so, if you were to paint or create a perfect learning environment, it's actually where you're practicing your craft. It's actually at school because you have all the resources that are available to you. Well, we feel that this levels the playing field as far as what families sometimes can offer, more affluent families can offer, and also at risk for at risk students. And so now all students can learn in a safe um, learning environment that's rich in support and also in resources. Um, the big question that comes up is one case a student doesn't have a computer or a connection or a cell phone and what have you, especially when watching videos. And some schools, and even we put them on DVD or thumb drive for students. Um, one of the things you want to decide is that if you have existing computers, what's your policies about students using those? Can you simply expand your day so that you can easily before and after school, maybe at lunchtime, have students use computer labs. Maybe you offer tutoring. And through that tutoring process, you may have a tutor sit in a computer lab instead of maybe an area that doesn't have computers. And that way, you can do two services at one time. Well, this is the first video on the flip, and we're gonna give you a series of videos here explaining the flip and kind of detailing more and more about what the flipped classroom is for you and your school and your classroom teachers.